I'd like to bring the October 10th Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Morabito?
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi?
Here.
Commissioner Coletta?
Here.
Commissioner Simons? Commissioner Keller?
Here.
And Chairman Flouché.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Commissioner Morabito is, or Azami is joining us by telephone today. Couple of announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request to speak form, also located in the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisle, and we ask that you use caution when using the stairs. There's also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to use at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member in the back of the auditorium. And she's got her hand up in the back. Thank you. If you do not have 17 copies, you may use the table with the overhead camera next to the podium to present your documents. If you want your documents to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk after your presentation with the agenda item clearly marked on the document. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff members sitting in the front as they have microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member in the back of the auditorium who will meet you in the lobby to discuss your issue. Staff members, please raise your hands. Thank you. A timer will be activated and all speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations and statements. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones, pagers, or put them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask the audience to refrain from talking with anyone during the presentations and discussions. Today's Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward the recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, November 5th at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking allowed from curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed in the auditorium. If there are any remaining items on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Approval of last month's minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Any questions or comments? Changes? Corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve last month's minutes. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Let's see here. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is an evaluation of a request to name a new road, Camino de Iva, on assessors parcel numbers 229-22012A and 229-22014D in the South Mohave Valley vicinity, north off Valencia Road between Infantry Road and Cavalry Road, Mohave County. Staff recommends approval of Camino de Iva as outlined herein. Commissioner Chairman Flouché, the applicant has advised staff that she will not be able to make it to the meeting today.
Okay, thank you very much. Bear with me just a minute here. Okay, we have no speakers on the item. We do have a few additional correspondence letters. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In the application, it shows that the current name of the street is not applicable, but the two letters that came in have addresses of people that live on that street, Valencia. What's the story?
Let's put that to Public Works.
I can answer that. Commissioner Keller, the addresses assigned in this area are assigned off of East Valencia Road. The addresses were assigned in that manner years ago to reach the parcels that are outlined in the map. That's why their current road name would be Valencia Road. It's not being changed. It's just the easement that accesses the parcels.
Is there another road, Valencia, or is that the?
That's the only east-west road currently is East Valencia Road, and the addresses are assigned off of that roadway.
Thank you.
So the net effect is really going to be changing the name of the road.
Well, the easement running north and south, that would be now named. The name of Valencia Road will not be changed. Would Public Works, Richard, would you like to?
Good morning, Commission. The applicant expressed a desire to have the road named for emergency services. For clarification, Valencia Road, there is no direct access except through this easement from Valencia Road, so there's been some confusion how to get to the applicant's parcel because there's no named road that accesses the parcel. Does that clarify?
I have a question. Will the people with the address on Valencia still have that same address?
Yes.
Well, excuse me.
Yeah, let's get some clarification on that because
Okay.
there was
What-
somebody that had a letter in there and they've had that address for a number of years and changing all your mailing addresses and everything else sometimes can be
Expensive.
expensive and confusing to people, and I just want to make sure this isn't one person that wants to get something changed when there's several other people that don't want that. So if you could explain, that would be great.
Yes, I'd like to clarify, Chairman Flouchet. The applicant's address was misassigned. We believe it was in 1980, 1977, off of Infantry Road, which there is really no access off of Infantry Road to this property from the west. In this situation, if the roadway wasn't named Camino de Iva, there would be an address correction for the applicant's parcel off of East Valencia Road to follow the circular address numbering as assigned through these other parcels.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments of?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Azami.
how many other residents are using this stretch of the road that is going to be changed to Camino de Iva?
There are a total of, Mr. Azarmi, there are a total of 3 addresses that would be affected by the road name change. APN
And
220.
those 3, how many are in agreement with the applicant?
1.
So 1 we have in agreement and 2 opposing?
1 in agreement and 1 opposed.
Okay, in your opinion, is this change necessary, or is it like, just the selection of the name by the applicant?
The application was accepted by the applicant for For 911 purposes, an address off of East Valencia Road would be proper for emergency responders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? I find it amazing that, of course, two of the lots are owned by Eva M. Smith, and I'm assuming she's also the applicant in this. I guess that's being a little selfish, but anyway, any additional questions or comments of the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
At this time, that's unnamed. And I live in a similar area to this, that people that actually don't live on the street where the mailbox is say that they do. And we'll be going through this, I'm sure, at our way too. She could probably have done Camino de Smith, but that's probably already been done several times. But it's right now, it's an unnamed road, and I think it would be confusing to fire and police to think that they are going on East Valencia when they're not. So naming it another name actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because maybe you know, I mean, did somebody just put that Valencia street name up, or how did it become that?
Camino de Eva? Eva likes her name.
Thank you. Ms. Beller, do you have something?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to point out that the protocol for addressing is that when the residential units do not directly face onto a named roadway, you take the name off of the nearest named roadway, and that's how those units got addressed off of Valencia.
Okay. Does anybody know what that noise is?
Mr. Chairman, I have Mr. Crick looking into that.
Thank you. It's already starting to get annoying. Okay, we have no more questions or comments. I will entertain a motion on item number 1.
I'd make a motion to approve per staff's recommendation.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 1. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Do you want to do a roll call on that? Nope, all right. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Item 2 is an evaluation of a request for rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-35008 from an AR, agricultural residential 1-acre minimum lot size zone, to an R1, single-family residential zone, to allow creation of 2 residential parcels in the Littlefield vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 2? Would you like to address the commission?
Good morning, Commission.
Please state your name.
My name is Anthony Gill.
Okay. What are you doing here, Anthony?
Purchasing just under a half acre from the original owner. I'd like to state that it says that to be zoned as agriculture, it has to be a 1 acre. If it is not a 1 acre, it has to be a residential. Is that correct? If it's smaller than an acre?
John, do you want to answer that, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The current zoning is agricultural residential, which requires a minimum of 1 acre. So in order to split the parcel below 1 acre, it needs to go to one of the R residential zones.
Right. It's already less than an acre, so I was thinking on my own that it should already be a residential. Is that correct?
That's
I believe,
accurate.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I believe the parcel is what we consider non-conforming. It was created in its current size prior to the establishment of the zoning. So in order to split it further, it needs to be rezoned.
Correct.
Okay, any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion on item number 2.
I move to approve item 2 according to the staff's recommendations.
Second.
Well, a motion and a second for item number 2. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 3.
Item, item 3 is an evaluation of a request for rezone of assessor's parcel number 229-12044 from an AR, agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone, to RO7M, single family residential manufactured homes prohibited, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size, to allow creation of a residential subdivision in the South Mohave Valley. Staff recommends approval of the rezone as indicated in the staff report. There are 1 letter in support, 6 letters objecting. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Thank you, Ray. Why don't you come up, Ray, and give us an idea of why all these people are letters of objection. We have no speakers on this topic.
Ray Stadler, I'm the project engineer. This Fossil Creek is a subdivision that was approved back in probably 5-7 years ago. It was rescinded by planning and zoning, and the new owner is wanting to bring it back to life. The number of lots in this proposed new subdivision is reduced by about 10%. The lot sizes are fairly consistent with the neighbors and other developments in the vicinity. The original development had lots extending out into a fairly significant drainage area. This layout does not. We've talked with flood control about giving them the parcel over the drainage area so that they could create some kind of retention basin that would help alleviate some of the flows down to the neighbors to the west and the elementary school down to the west. And so that's kind of the development. It's pretty much similar to what was approved before and what is existing in the area.
I remember when we approved this back when. So what you're saying is you've reduced the density a little bit?
Yeah, we've reduced by about 10%.
And
we
all the
don't have
other-
any lots extending out into that main drainage area any longer.
Okay, and so the other thing would be, we're still doing all the same drainage issues that we had in the original?
Well, we're not going to have to do any real heavy drainage. There will be retention, obviously, by the new regulations.
Okay, yeah, well, that's
And we
gonna
are,
be-
like I say, we have had discussions with flood control about taking over that parcel, and then if they want to, they can take it to build a retention basin to help alleviate some of the downstream flows
Okay.
that come through that area.
All right. Any questions of the speaker?
I just have one.
Go ahead.
Who's going to provide the water and sewer?
The water is by, I think it's Utilities Incorporated, used to be Bermuda Water, and the sewer is by the tribal utilities.
Is by who?
Tribal
Oh,
utilities,
okay. Fort Mohave?
Fort Mohave, yes.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One of the concerns that I believe the opposition had is if the project is going to be compatible to the neighboring properties. Could you find out if what the style of homes are they planning to do? Is that going to be manufactured homes? Is there any guideline?
This zoning is for manufactured home prohibited. It's all site-built homes similar
Okay.
to what's.
All stick-built, Mr. Azami.
Stick built, okay. That was one of the main concerns that some of the letters had, so thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve item 3 per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion to approve item number 3 per staff recommendations. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Item number 4.
Item 4 is an evaluation of a request for zoning use permit on assessor's parcel number 306-04068A for a travel trailer as a secondary residence in an AR, agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone in the Golden Valley. Staff recommends approval of the zoning use permit as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Okay. Would you like to address the commission?
Good morning, Alwina Brand Nolan.
I guess my question is travel trailer.
Yes, sir, it's a fifth wheel. Yeah,
Okay.
the person, excuse me, has been there since approximately 1999 with a few years that he was gone. He's a relative. And there is an existing secondary septic tank right there at the garage. So in other words, it's not hooked up to the main house.
Okay, so it has its own septic tank.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how large that is?
It was the largest at the time. It's 1,000 gallon.
Okay.
The garage has 1 bathroom in it.
I guess I got a question to staff is, I'm just trying to think when we actually approved a zone use permit for a travel trailer the last time. Anybody have an idea? It just isn't something we normally would do.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was a similar item on the agenda maybe 2 months ago up in the Meadview area. It's been fairly recently.
That was the one for the animal park place, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that was, okay. So anyway, there's no rent being paid, it's a relative.
Yes, sir.
You know, you can't charge rent.
That's correct.
Okay, so staff has explained all that stuff to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I looked at that as a much different issue than what we're doing here. Any questions or comments of the speaker? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve according to staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 4. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 5 is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to BOS Resolution 2011-142, setting forth a zoning use permit for an RV park on assessor's parcel number 308-08015 in an AR, agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone to correct the description to a private recreational vehicle campground and modify the conditions of approval. In the chloride vicinity, staff recommends approval of the amendment as indicated in the staff report. As a bit of history, this is the VFW club or post. They allow members traveling through to come in and park for a day or two, but it's not really set up as a commercial RV park, which is, if you go to the zoning ordinance and the requirements for an RV park, they're designed for the commercial type setups. We would recommend doing this one under a site plan rather than a full-blown RV park plan, which is the purpose of this amendment.
So, what are we doing about water and sewage? Is there a dump station there, or?
I believe the
Self-contained?
they would be self-contained units. They'll have to go to a dump station. I don't believe there's one on the premises, but it's actually been used in this manner for some time, and it does have a permit from the Environmental Health Department for
Is the applicant present? Would you like to just address the commission? Do we have any questions?
I'm John, also Jack Kimpton, the commander of the Chloride VFW post. And basically, the facility that is there, other posts and other organizations such as Moose and Elk and stuff, they'll come in for town events because we're in a historical town of chloride. And they'll come for 2 or 3 days, and they're all totally self-contained, all newer units. And they've always been aware that there is water there and power, but there is no blackwater or dump station facilities. And we've never had a problem. If we've ever had more than 3 or 4 or 5 units, we bring in a porta potty for any specific use. Plus, we have the restroom facilities in the post itself. So
Nobody's permanently.
no, and it's not a rental thing. They come in voluntarily, and
So they're members
sometimes
of
they'll make a
VFW,
donation
they have the
or something.
opportunity
Yeah.
to stay there. Okay, all right. Any questions of the speaker? Hearing none, thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion. Item number 5.
Make motion to approve item 5 per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 5. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Item number 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on Triangle Air Park, Track 3004, in Section 24, Township 27 North, Range 21 West, to reestablish the status of the air park in the RE Residential Recreation Zone and proposed SDRE Special Development Recreation Zone in the White Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the zoning use permit as indicated in the staff report. There is 1 letter of objection and 7 letters of concern regarding some of the staff's recommendation from the applicants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicant present. We have several speakers on the item, so we'll just start there. George Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is George Cummings. I am here representing Mr. Robert Drake.
Can I get you to put those on the table there so we can actually get them on the screens? It's almost impossible. Just put one up there and then we'll flip the other one over to there in a minute. We can't see them from here. Yeah. Okay, whichever one you want to talk about first will be fine. Okay. Looks like a shell of an airplane.
This item, as staff indicated, is somewhat related to item number 7, which is I believe, the request pertaining to the special development zoning. I think they run in tandem, and if pleases the chair, I'd sort of like to address both of them together at this point.
We prefer doing each item at a time.
And I will try to segregate them, although there is obviously some overlap. With respect to the zoning use permit, we've got some specific concerns here. As proposed, it would basically allow unlimited cargo container storage, and that's not acceptable and not compatible with the residential, recreational, private hobby airstrip use that this subdivision was created for. Staff has recommended some items with respect to building permits for things that want to be used as structures, which is a step in the right direction, but we believe that there need to be some absolute limits on the number of containers. 3 or 4 would be more than adequate to accommodate this hobby recreational aircraft use. There needs to be an absolute prohibition against double stacking the containers. For all sorts of reasons, safety concerns, aesthetic concerns, and you know, if they're being double stacked, they're not really being used for the appropriate purpose. The setbacks that they propose are inconsistent with the CCNRs. The streets here are to be used as taxiways. There need to be significant setbacks in order to accommodate the passage of aircraft and wing overlays. The CCNRs prohibit structures within 30 feet of the streets, and they have a 1-foot height limitation within 10 feet. Those things need to be carried forward in whatever zoning requirements are imposed. The density requirement they propose would be 40%. These lots are basically, they tend to gravitate around plus or minus 2 acres in size. That would accommodate, you know, basically 35,000 square feet. That's not a residence and a Cessna hangar. That's a warehouse level or a manufacturing facility. Again, that level is inconsistent with the purpose for which this subdivision was created. 20,000 square feet would accommodate the residential uses and the Cessna hangar. That tends to be about 25% of the lot coverage area. And we believe that anything that we do with a zoning use permit here needs to be at that level, not the 40% level.
When was the original subdivision plat filed on this parcel, or these parcels? Remember when that was?
It was several decades ago.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the exact.
Do you know the height restriction on that, on those parcels? John?
Is it 40 feet or 60 feet, John?
Mr. Chairman, the maximum height in the RE zone is 30 feet.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted. Finish
There's
quickly.
request for open storage, and the 1,000 square feet that's sort of generally applicable there may not be adequate, but they want to go to 2,000 square feet, which is sort of the default level for a 5-acre parcel. We think that sort of something in the middle would be more appropriate at 1,500 square feet. And again, understand, when you do these things, you're establishing across a number of lots sort of the default automatic approval level. I mean, if folks have some specific use or some specific plan, they can come back in and get something to address that specific use when they've got a site plan and a very specific proposal to present to you. What you're doing here is laying sort of the basic groundwork, automatic stuff. And maybe there needs to be some accommodation for the unique character of this subdivision. It's just what's been proposed is kind of way beyond what needs to be done. I'd like to put up that's an aerial photograph of a couple of the parcels that are in violation and subject to proceedings that I guess are stayed at the moment. Basically, this is what they want you to prove. That's not recreational aircraft, my Cessna in a hangar. That's a junkyard. And what has been proposed is broad, generic, and open-ended, and would accommodate an argument that this is acceptable. And I don't think you want to do that. When they talk about aircraft uses, I put this one up earlier. I mean, that's a photograph from the site out of your own violation files of one of the aircraft that's there. They talk about aircraft equipment. And we get something like that. Maybe that's supposed to be a propeller. I don't know.
Has anybody, let me ask a question of staff, has anybody ever filed a complaint on these parcels?
Mr. Chairman, yes. I believe we have approximately 12 active files at this time.
Okay. Are these photos that he just showed us, are any of those on the subject property? Or are they somebody else's property? Anybody know?
At least one of the photos is of the property that's being included in the request for the change in zone. Okay. What is before the commission right now is actually an airfield.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get too many things confused here because we're talking about a lot of different issues here. Okay, thank you. Mark Krigg?
Good morning. I'm Mark Craig. I'm a property owner in Triangle Air Park. These proposed changes are brought by people that are in violation of current zoning laws, and they're hoping to get around complying by this new deal. They all signed a disclosure statement and received a copy of the CC&Rs, which are a contract, when they purchased their property. And they knew what it was at that time, and it's currently perfectly zoned for what we need, a recreational air park. It is not an airport. We don't need public fueling facilities or commercial interest. It's a recreational subdivision. The setbacks are clearly defined in the CC&Rs. As Mr. Cummins said, they take into consideration aircraft traffic, and they need to stay intact as they are. And I'd like to go on record as objecting to this proposed change. That's it.
Any questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What is the property that this gentleman has in relation to this? What is the accessor's parcel number on his property?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Can you restate that?
How far is your property from this proposed application?
My property is included in this. It's within 2 lots of this terrible mess.
Well, this wouldn't affect the, which sometimes bothers me about the way things are being done out there, but this wouldn't change your property zoning, or it's got something to do with everything else, or the other parcels that are in question here, I believe.
Yeah, this zoning is for the entire Triangle Air Park, and so anyway, thanks.
Is that correct, John? It's not exactly what I...
Mr. Chairman, the zoning use permit needs to cover the entire Triangle Air Park. It's for the, basically the runways, the taxiways. It establishes the basic, it reestablishes what was there, approved originally in 1977, and then it was rescinded by the applicant several years later. The rezone, which is the next item, only has included specific parcels. And the reason behind that is, in order to rezone the property, you have to have the express written consent of the property owner. So the people who oppose this are not included in that rezone request. Their property would not change.
Just in the zoning use permit?
Only the zoning use permit
Okay,
would affect the entire
which is item number 7,
subdivision.
is the rezone. Okay, any questions or comments of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Zami?
When you look at, which I jumped ahead and look at the next item, obviously on the zoning, it basically goes around a lot of other properties that are not included. My question to Chris is, first of all, we have no jurisdiction on the CC&Rs, but wouldn't that be the ADRE area that they have to govern on this thing?
Mr. Chairman, can you have Mr. Azami repeat the question?
Mr. Zami, could you repeat that?
Ms. Ballard, the CCNR, we do not take into the consideration as the commissioners. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay. And then wouldn't that be something that ADRE, Arizona Department of, should be able to have that if they have a recorded CCNR?
What was the question again?
Chairman Flouché, anytime that there is a CCNR and it is recorded, that would be the Department of Real Estate jurisdiction in the state. Isn't that the case?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Azami, no, that's not the case.
That's only on a residential.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would actually be the responsibility of the property owners themselves to enforce the CCNRs.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions or comments of the speaker? David Dyer. I hope that I'm saying that right. Dreyer.
Yeah, you had it right the first time.
Oh,
Dyer.
did I? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Name is David Dyer, and I'm a property owner there, but I'm a non-resident of Arizona. 30 years ago, I think 1977, he mentioned that people went out there and created Triangle Air Park in the desert. And since that time, they've never used any public money. They've had their own equipment, and they've maintained it, and it's a very nice facility right now. So they used materials, old equipment, and I'm really proud of what they've created out there. And it was their money, and now a lot of people want to move in. And almost all of these complaints you're getting is people like me that are from out of state. I'm not one of the people complaining. When I bought 7 years ago, I saw what it was, and it was fine with me, just like it is now. And, you know, these people that have built that, if they don't get the zoning like we're requesting, it's going to, I would say, change their life dramatically. And we're all getting long in tooth. You know, there's no young people out there that have been there for 35 years. So I'm just saying that I'm for these changes that the club is asking for.
Do you know if, I think I know the answer, but I always like to ask, but has there been any consensus to bring everything into a specific zoning besides kind of updating it? You know, something that happened 30 years ago and something happening today, things have changed. I mean, it's not the desert park that it was 30 years ago. And I've just, sometimes I wonder why this whole thing, this whole parcel isn't brought into play for a more of an upgraded zoning and use permits, because it seems like you've got a lot of people that want things, and then you've got people that maybe hobbyists, if you will, that want to use it for one thing, and then you've got somebody that actually, I know we have a lot of commercial flights, what do they call those? Flying over the Grand Canyon and helicopters and all that stuff there. I'm just, are you aware of anything that's been proposed?
No, actually, I'm probably not the one to speak about this. We'll have someone else that can address that for you. But the club has actually been approached by commercial operators to operate out of Triangle Air Park. And every time we've turned them down. We want to stay non-commercial.
Okay.
We also, you know, we like the way it is now. We realize that when you put your fingers in the commercial pie, you're asking for all kinds of obligations to not only Mohave County, but the FAA.
Yeah.
And you know, we're just, you know, these guys, most of these guys are from World War II. I mean, a couple of them will get up here and speak to you, you know. What I would really like to see is to change this to what we're asking for. But if we can't do that, I don't want to destroy these people's, this is their life. 35 years of their life is out there. And they're the ones that built this. I didn't. It was there when I came. And I saw what it was. Why would I want to displace these people or change their life? I just don't understand. It's not a California recreational park. You know, that's what they want to try to make it into. And this is Arizona. You know, please guard Arizona. You know, you don't need to be like California. You don't.
Okay.
Every day.
Any questions of the speaker?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Where do you live?
I live in Nevada, Boulder City, Nevada. And by the way, speaking of that, we're having all kinds of troubles with our airports over there. The city just borrowed $5 million from the FAA. Didn't borrow it, took it. And now the FAA is dictating what that airport does. Another reason you don't want to take public money if you.
Well, the reason I asked you is don't make Arizona look like California, and people from Nevada come to Arizona and want it to look like a dump. I mean, is that what you're recommending?
No. I want it to look just like it is right now. It was
So
that way
is
when I
any
came
of your
in.
property the property he has pictures of?
Pardon?
Is any of your property the property that he has the pictures of with the windmill and the airframe and the?
No, my property meets all the requirements right now.
Okay.
But that doesn't, I look onto these other properties, it didn't bother me. They built that. I mean, that's what maintains our airport. They're the ones that get out there and grade the runways, grade the taxiways, do the drainage. They're the guys that do that. That's the equipment they use. And one of the pictures that the attorney showed up here, he said, this must be a propeller. That's a windmill for water. Those guys drilled a well out there, and they got a windmill to use it.
Is that windmill standing up or laying on its side?
It's on the side now because we're
So
using
it really isn't being used to.
No, we have I didn't. They put an electric pump years ago.
So
That's actually a pump, a windmill pump.
So now it is just, I don't know if one side says there's decay, and the other side says let's let it decay because we like that. Which do you feel is right?
Well,
you guys are the ones at the airport, although you don't live there. You just use the land in Arizona as some people say dump, some people say as a place to just store equipment.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's you look at it from where you're at. If you're buying a piece of property there now, and you came from California and you want it to look like that, you take one position. If you've been there for 35 years and you've accumulated all this and used it all those years, you take another position. And I'm just saying, protect your Arizona people. You know, look after them.
That's
first.
actually who we're looking out for, and maybe possibly not the Nevada people or the California people, but the Arizona people.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, for me to come in and tell all these people what to do, that's crazy. You know, I can request it and we can work together and do all that, but to use the government to further an out-of-stater's position just doesn't sound right to me. It feels bad. It's not the way we should do things.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Robert McBride.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'd like to start out by saying I totally approve of this position, number 6. I am a transplant from Nevada. Primarily, I came down to live in Arizona because it's open and free, and I didn't have to be held responsible for Harry Reid. So, having stated that, I am not a property owner. I am a resident and a voter. And when I came to the air park, it looked just like it was, with a few exceptions. We've cleaned up some things. According to the two pictures that you saw from the attorney, one is the skeleton of an aircraft. We have some of those around because we use them for rebuilding our aircraft. The other was, as stated before, a windmill. Granted, it's not used, but if the power goes out, we can reinstall it. That's why it's still there. We do have equipment around, but it was there when all the new people came, and they accepted it. The other picture you see is a property adjacent to the one in which I live at. And I call it Stonehenge. I don't think you will find one resident in our air park who has an objection to it. And as far as my understanding goes, all of the objections to the rezoning comes from out-of-state owners, not residents, not voters. And that's all I have to say about it.
Okay, any questions of the speaker? Oh, could you please state your name?
Robert K. McBride.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bruce Blatton. Butin.
Yes, my name is Bruce Barton, and I'd like to keep it as the way it was submitted. And I live there. I have a lot of aircraft parts, and that are valuable to me and other aircraft owners. And that picture that guy put up with the aircraft frame there, that's no longer there. So I'm not a very good speaker, but that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy, would you like to come up?
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett-Hicks. I am the application for this, and for 6 and 7, and the first one is just a zoning use permit, but they've segued right into the rezone stuff. Is it your desire? The zoning use permit was requested actually by staff. There's nothing new about the Triangle Air Park issues. Staff has been wrestling, trying to get majority approval and support for items for well over a year. They've met with these owners 5 or 6 times. I think now we have a real jointly beneficial approach that a majority of the owners sign on. They're willing to work on it. It does not negate the zoning violations, okay? And when we get to the rezoning, I'll tell you exactly how I cherry-picked to make this work, because currently there's also another application for manufacturing M zoning on 8 of these parcels, which was their own approach and what they thought the county was guiding them to meet ends. That's not what we want to do. We want to maintain their residential recreation. Some of the people live out there. They want to be able to maintain what they have, and they need to get those zoning violations cleaned up. So when we get to that, I'll tell you exactly what the strategy was, why I think it works, and how it doesn't hurt anybody else. But the zoning use permit was requested by staff because they wanted that to be on that air park again. There are only 2, I think there's only 2 private air parks in the county, one in South Mohave Valley and this one. It is very unique. And so we should try to maintain that. So the zoning use, because I relayed to them that some of the owners wanted to have some type of fuel facility instead of everybody with gas cans all over that place and fuel all over. Their goal has been for several years to ultimately have some type of area by the club that they could get fuel, which is completely reasonable. So I said, let's do what the county wants with the zoning use permit. Let's get that brought up so your land use is good. And then we'll put in there that it does take care of other associated uses, including the potential for a fuel facility, including your equipment that you use to maintain your drainage stuff. So all this does is wrap up those pieces nicely. The zoning use approval, I think, is easy and clear. I ask you please to approve it. I don't think there's any distress on anyone's part for the zoning use permit.
Yeah, I'm just want everybody to get their time at the podium.
Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the commission? If not, I'll entertain. Chris, do you have something? Oh, okay. I'll entertain a motion on item number 6.
I'll move to approve with staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion to approve per staff recommendations, item number 6. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 7.
Item 7 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 317-54, 001, 006 through 012, 014, 016 through 020, 023 through 029, 032, 034, and 035 from an RE residential recreation zone to an SDRE special development residential recreation zone to allow non-standard setbacks, lot coverage limits, and open lot storage limits, and to consider storage containers under lot coverage but not as open lot storage in the White Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Again, you have 1 letter of objection and 7 of concern by property owners about the limitations that staff recommends. Thank you.
The applicant present. We have 3 speakers. Mark Krieg.
I just wanted to state my objection again to this zoning change.
What's your lot, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, what's your lot number?
33. I am not a resident there. I live in Alaska, but my taxes are the second highest in the subdivision. I've done some improvements there. I don't care to see it turned into more of a junkyard than what it is. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? By the way, I would check with the county assessor. I don't think this is going to approve or increase any taxes on your part unless you make a change. George? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I would restate and repeat the items I said before. Like I said, they kind of overlap a little bit. I think that the overall concern we have here, though, is as presented, this would basically grant the county's approval for both the north-south runway here and the east-west runway. And we don't have any comments or input at all from either the FAA or ADOT with respect to these items. And that is an item of concern with respect to the east-west runway, which basically dead ends into a state highway. And I cannot believe that ADOT does not want some sort of limitations on clear zones, approach patterns, potentially lighting, and if we're going to do a good job of, getting this thing cleaned up, it seems that it would be appropriate to elicit their input before any formal action is taken.
Why didn't you solicit their input from the FAA or from ADOT?
Well, one of the items that we have, here is we had some difficulty finding out specifically what they were asking. Okay, I've only had a couple of weeks to look at this stuff, and that's not really practical time to get a state agency to turn something around. We do know, with respect to some of the heliport activities just north, that FAA has made some comments in this area, and the comments they've made with respect to the heliport make reference to this air park, and they don't quite seem to match, their understanding of what's at Triangle does not quite seem to match what's on the ground. There appears to be some confusion there. Again, I think, there needs to be some time, and we're not going to be able to do that in 2 weeks' time to find out what they know and what they believe and how they believe it from a couple other government agencies that are likely to be involved or impacted here.
Well, I agree, getting something out of, sometimes getting things out of governmental agency is tough, but there again, you gotta make the point and sit down in front of somebody, and actually ADOT's got an office here that I'm sure if someone took the effort, they could get in and actually sit in there and talk to him. And as far as the FAA, we have absolutely no, kind of like, there again, that's not our responsibility to meet with the FAA or get their approval or not approval on land use items. So there again, I think someone needs to do their homework, and if FAA's got a problem with it, then you need to bring that before the Board of Supervisors or something at the November meeting. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Cumming, your client's property, where is that located?
He has 2 lots that abut are next door, basically. In one place, there's a taxiway, a street in between 2 of the parcels that are covered specifically by the applications.
Is that within the subdivision, or
yes,
is it outside of this
it's
parcel?
Within the subdivision.
Could you give me the numbers?
I believe he owns lots 5 and 30.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker? Could you state your name again, Mr. Cummings?
George Cummings.
Thank you. Robert McBride.
My name's Robert McBride, as you well know, and I'd like to clear up a few things. First off, I approve of this number 7, except for the containers, and I'll address that in a bit. But first off, the runway question that he had about the runway running into the highway, there isn't one pilot in this room that would take off that direction because it goes uphill into the highway and over the high lines. We are not suicidal. We only land coming into that way if the wind's out of the west. Runways have 2 ways to land and take off, depending on the wind entirely. So that's moot. As far as the containers go, we had already approached the staff, and we're told that if we had engineering, we could make a container a building. We contacted engineering, got the information, everything's fine. My problem with it is there was 3 things that you had to meet. One was erosion, one was compaction, and structural strength. Our engineering came up with no problem compaction because this one particular fence that has been offensive to some of the people Has been there for over 15 years. It's no erosion, and they estimated that the wind loading to knock it down would be about 250 miles an hour. So I have no problem with that. And the containers are like a fenced storage area. You cannot see it. You can't see a thing in it. All you see is a square box. If that's offensive to some people, we'll paint it any color you want. We'll paint trees on it. But it is an excellent, watertight storage. And it is a financial burden to make them buildings. It costs us about $1,500 per container. And as far as double stacking, our height limit is 30 feet. And if you double stack it, you can make a hanger out of it if you wanted to. It's wide enough. It's structurally strong enough. If you look at a container ship, you'll see them stacked up 16 high with no problem. So I have no problem with multi-containers. I have problem with people who move in to our area and then decide they don't like what they see and want us to change. The minority want us to change. The majority. And that's basically all I have to say.
All right. Any questions of the speaker?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Could you tell me a story? The containers, how you put an airplane in them?
In part. Actually, we have, on our property, we have one container that has all engines and fuselage parts. If for Stinsons, we have another container that has Balanca parts. We have wings in them. We have also we have wings in another one. You can take these aircraft apart. They're all older than I think our youngest aircraft is somewhere about a 1942. So they need maintenance on a periodic basis. They need to be recovered now and then. And a container makes an excellent storage facility.
But you don't actually make a hangar out of this. You just take the airplane apart and put it in.
You can stack hanger here, and take a 40-footer across the top and make a roof out of it. And then you can put ladders up if you wanted to.
That's where you may run into a problem with
on the height.
With
no, 30 feet. Hangars.
No, as far as building.
Oh,
that
well,
that may be a whole different. We don't.
Yeah,
we're just all about
Let's
land.
don't even go there.
Right.
But two of them on top of each other is 20 feet, little under 20 feet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? Okay, if the applicant would come back up.
Good morning again. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm representing the 24 lot owners in this application. And when I was first brought onto this, I was brought on to help them present to you a manufactured M zoning for, I think, 7 or 8 lots in this area. And I told them that I would help them get something through. Well, the more I looked at it, the more problems that I could see with this exact application. They relayed to me that they've met with staff several times, I think 5 or 6 or something, and staff concurred. I have met with John and Chris to try to figure out all the pieces of this Medusa. There are some violations on some of the lots. Our request here does nothing to alleviate the responsibility of the individual owner to clean up those lots and come into compliance. But on numerous occasions, we've come before you on lots, and Chris and I spoke at length about this, that one of the ways to help do that in some cases is to request a rezone. And in this case, I didn't think an aggressive M zoning, that is exactly what they would prefer, a complete M zoning with, unfettered reins to do what they want, but it doesn't help the overall project. I wanted to maintain our residential status that they have out there, residential recreation, because there are homes or people that live out there, and M is not good for that. So I cherry-picked some things under the special development zone, which is the only process that we could do this without adversely affecting anyone who chose not to participate. And so we picked out 3 or 4 items on the, let's see, Mr. Cummins referenced our open lot storage from 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. That's absolutely a minor change. 2,000 square feet is allowed in a 3-acre site. These are 1 and 2, 2.5, close to 3-acre sites. That's, as far as I'm concerned, no adverse effects and helps them a little bit. The lot maximum density for the lots is 20%. If I have a 10,000 square foot lot, I can do 50% maximum density. We went with 40% on that because regardless of anything, airplanes are bigger, they take up a lot more space, and someone who goes out there, if they're actively out there, then the extra space, I believe, is appropriate. I find it interesting that Mr. Cummins' client is so concerned about this because he has an existing warehouse on his lot that's almost 10,000 square feet, which is clearly manufacturing. And he has a cargo container, and he has all sorts of things. That looks fantastic, okay? There's no issue with that, but what I'm saying is that what I'm proposing here is going to help him as well. So we had the setback issues. Their CCNRs do indicate 10 foot in the front, nothing a foot higher. So those roads were built, designed for taxiways, which it still works for. My main goal in doing that was to allow for those back setbacks to be reduced so that they could use more space in their lot. So a lot of those are double fronting lots, and they have various things. There's no adverse impacts to anyone with that. And their CCNRs are clear, he's correct, that I think 30 foot back, they can't have a structure. That doesn't change that. Lastly, had to do with the cargo containers, because I was trying to find a way for that Aero Club to be able to store all the equipment. Several of these violations are on some of their club properties, and it has to do with storing pipe for their drainage stuff. It has to do with storing fencing stuff, storing their equipment that's not screened, and like you brought up that well, deal out there on some of these lots. So I was trying to find a way to help them achieve what they originally intended to be out there. They are completely self-supporting. And so I thought for these few items, we would be able to address the county's concerns with this. We'd be able to help these property owners get what they want, and it would not be adversely impact anyone, particularly not the 3 opposers. I think there are a few more lots out there of people who are not committed. I think they're waiting to see if this is going to work because they've been through this process numerous times. The one picture of those 2 lots that has all of that storage in it, those were originally applied for like 15 years ago for CMO zoning, commercial, manufacturing, open space, okay? And it is view obscuring. And so it was under that premise, and I believe there's still an open file at the county for his CMO zoning about doing a site plan to complete that. And so it's not just because people got, all crazy. The fact is they haven't been followed for a long time. We want to make it work. The few lots that have those violations need to be fixed, and this application does not circumvent or alleviate that responsibility. The deal on the cargoes, I don't think they should have a building permit at all. Those are portable units. They're never intended to have a building permit unless they have power. Under the building code, they would be required, but other than that, those are portable units. And that would help the club store their stuff. It would help individual property owners, and I also believe it's a very neat and orderly way to do that. And if they were able to do that on those lots, some of that stuff that looks unsightly to you, I think would be cleaned up. So there's nothing nefarious. It's been 30 years out there. The county's tried to wrestle with it, and this is a real jointly beneficial proposal that maintains what that was for and helps them get some of these issues taken care of. I'm happy to answer any questions. I feel good about the proposal because I think it's fair and appropriate and not aggressive, and I'm happy I was able to ask them to pull back the manufacturing zoning, the M zoning, to at least look at something like this that I think is beneficial.
I've got a question of staff. I noticed we've got the 10-foot front, 10-foot in the back, and we've got the open lot buildings, 40%. Can we assume that it's all zero lot line on the sides?
It's not zero lot line on the sides for residential
Just
recreation.
wondering why we didn't put something in here on that.
Mr. Chairman.
It's even relevant.
I don't think there was any request for a change on the side setback.
Okay, what is it currently?
5 feet in RE.
And just, because the 10-foot is currently what's there now too, isn't it? Did I
They
hear that?
have, in their CCNRs, they have nothing within the first 10 feet can be over a foot high. So that's what we wanted to maintain.
Okay, all right, I'm good. Any additional questions of the commission?
I have one.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr. Zami.
Kathy, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
One is one of the speakers indicated that the upkeep of the project is being done by your clients. Is that correct? Or who is maintaining the main airstrip and the auxiliary one?
Well, the responsibility falls under all the members that are in that park. So they do have specific individuals that maintain the actual runway, the drainage way, and that lot that you saw with all the stuff on it does hold a lot of the equipment and stuff for that maintenance and the pipes and stuff. But the responsibility is by all of them as property owners in this area.
So is that?
So is there an association fee that they pay every month, or how does it work?
I don't know. It's private roads, private runways, private everything. You can ask if that's important. I can ask.
Let me interrupt there for Mr. Zami. Now, is it the Aero Club that actually, the Triangle Air Park, I guess, or is there may be an air club in there too? Is it, so if you own land in there, no matter what, if it costs $500 to do it, everybody pays their fair share? Is that the way it works? Okay.
I believe so.
All right, thank you.
And this application comes, there's 5 lots from the Aero Club, and then all of the other lots, I think 19 are individual property owners in there.
Okay.
That's how the ownership is.
Did you have another question, Mr. Zami?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Kathy, in terms of I assume one of the complaints that I heard from Mr. Cumming was the trash or the junk items in there. And I guess in your statement you mentioned that you are planning to take care of that. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. What I'm stating is this is just a request separate than what the county is obligated to do in terms of rezone. Now, if we get this approved, then there's going to be some flexibility in using those cargo units, which is what I want, so that when they address the violations, they can clean it up in an orderly fashion. So, but they still have to clean up per the county, and the county has methods and processes, and they put it on stay because we're really passionately trying to find an answer that works, and I think this does.
Okay, so your intention or your client's intention is to take steps in that direction, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Morbido?
It looks like 11 pieces of property that are not part of the rezone, and there's probably 24 that are. The 11 people, is there a chance for them to come on later, maybe the staff or whoever wants to answer this? What if they change their mind and decide that really is a good way to go to be part of the group? Is that?
Well, I was actually hoping that they would see that there was nothing to a disadvantage. There are 2 or 3 opposers, and I think their main concern is getting those areas cleaned up, and I think this is how we can do that. But yeah, I think we should reach out, and many of them were undecided, and I think they were waiting to see if this time it was going to work, to be quite frank.
So they won't be precluded from joining into this?
Well, I think in terms of postings and stuff like that, I don't know if they can be included in this, but they could follow up with something.
I think they have to follow up.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Chris?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, the speaker is correct. Like, they would have to follow up at a later
Separate.
date with their own rezone.
Yeah. But the adjoining zoning would be appropriate for, unless they come back with something else, correct? Well, we'd have to wait and see whatever they
Yeah,
came
we'd have to
into.
wait and see
Okay.
what the application that they submitted was
That's being very speculative.
inclusive of.
Okay, any questions of the speaker?
So just one item, I
Okay.
would ask that you please approve it, but delete that one portion in the staff recommendation, item number 2, delete cargo that have been permitted as buildings, delete those 6 words, because I do not believe permitting these portable units is appropriate, required, or, anything else.
Well, so what you're saying is you want to increase the maximum lot coverage above 40% then?
No, the cargo units are included as that maximum lot coverage.
Right, but you want to take that out?
I do not want to have the cargo units require a building permit for use.
Okay, but the lot coverage is still stays at 40%?
That's correct.
So all you want to do is not have a container have to have a building permit?
Correct.
As I understand that, because it may be there 6 months and then leave.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any additional questions? John?
Thank you.
Does anybody see a problem with that?
I guess I would defer that question to Ms. Ballard.
Ms. Ballard?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, that particular condition was included in the change of zone because in the end, the applicant is requesting a residential zone. In residential zones in the county, a cargo container is one of 2 things. It's either considered part of the open lot storage or a structure. And what they're asking is that in a residential zone, it be considered neither fish nor fowl. But actually a storage container, as it would be in a commercial or an industrial zone. So we thought it would be appropriate to have it one or the other, as we do in all the other residential zones. So it's actually a question of parity throughout the residential zones.
But this is quasi-residential. This is not a straight RM1 zone. This is an airport use which has quasi-commercial and manufacturing items in it. So that was why I presented it, and I still believe that it's, a good use. But she and I did speak about it.
Yeah. Now, I'm just, the fact that it's not something that's being built on the site, that's why I'm having a little bit of a challenge with building permits. But, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Kathy. Any additional questions or comments?
I have a question to staff.
Yes.
It says cargo containers that have been permitted as buildings. Does that mean that a cargo container can be not permitted as just a temporary storage unit? I mean, are there 2 different things? Because if it's included, permitted as a building, I mean, is every cargo container a building because of the zoning?
In residential zones, we basically have 2 methods of accommodating cargo containers. They're either considered part of the allowed open storage, or they're permitted as a building.
So if it's part of the open lot storage, that's part of the maximum 2,000 square feet?
Then if it's part of the open storage, well, the way the applicant has written, keep in mind, this is kind of a zone the applicant writes for themselves. And in the zone that they've written for themselves, the containers would be neither open storage nor would they be considered a structure, regardless of how long they stayed on site.
So it would require a permit?
The way they have written their zone, no, it would not.
It would not require a permit?
Staff's recommending that it does, that they do require permits if they're not included in the open lot storage figures.
So I have a question. So then would that take that out of there, that whole sentence out of there? Is that so that it would not require it? Staff recommends that we do require it, right?
Right. They're saying
they don't want it in
require
there.
a building permit for a storage unit. Is that the way I'm hearing?
Yeah, the applicant is saying that they would prefer that particular condition be struck and that containers not require building permits.
Okay, so basically, a motion would have to be cargo containers do not have to be permitted as buildings.
Mr. Chairman?
Is that correct?
Yeah, another way to do it as well is to make a motion and include in the motion strike condition number.
Okay.
It's not the whole condition.
Well, we don't want to strike the whole condition, it's just that one sentence. Or part of
Excuse me,
that
Mr.
sentence.
Chairman, that is correct.
Okay, I play on words. Any additional questions or comments? We're past the public input at this time, sorry. But you know what, come on up real quick. I want everybody to.
I received a notice of violation on my lot, and I had to buy 2 building permits for my 2 shipping containers to come into compliance.
I understand what we're trying to do is make it so you don't have to do it again. If this would have been a place, you wouldn't have had to do that. That's what we're trying to do with what we're talking about here.
But his lot will be accepted, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
he would
he's
still
already
have to.
No, because he's not included.
Not included in this, so he would still have to, if he gets
That's
another
right.
one tomorrow,
If
he's gonna have to
somebody,
get.
if somebody, lot number, whatever it was, one of the lots that is not in here, like lot number 2 or 3, if they wanted to bring a container on, they would have to get a permit. It would exclude the other lots that we're talking about. Am I correct, Ms. Ballard?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the only lots included in this rezoning are the lots that are specified in your
Okay.
package. All other lots are excluded.
Okay. I will, we have no more speakers. I will entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve and to strike the sentence that starts with cargo containers that have been permitted as buildings, to strike that sentence and approve with the other staff recommendations.
Second?
I'll second.
John?
Mr. Chairman, apologies for interrupting. I think if you strike the entire sentence, you lose a portion of what the applicant is asking for. I think what they're asking for is that in the middle sentence, the words "that have been permitted as buildings" be struck. Then the sentence would read, "Cargo containers will not be considered open lot storage, but will count toward the maximum lot coverage." I believe that is what the applicant is asking for, not striking the entire sentence.
Okay.
I would like to amend to say that we would strike, we would say cargo containers will not be considered open lot storage. Is that right?
Restate what you
I
said,
think
John.
we got it.
Yeah, just restate that again.
Okay, it would be striking the 6 words, "that have been permitted as buildings." The sentence would then read, "Cargo containers will not be considered open lot storage, but will count toward maximum lot coverage."
All right.
I believe that's the intent.
I'd like to make my motion to approve
What he just said.
what he said.
I think we've done that before. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on item number 7 per staff recommendations with the changes on item number 2. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 8.
Item 8 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on assessor's parcel number 336-06305 for travel trailers as secondary residence in an RE residential recreation zone in the Lake Mead City vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 8? Okay. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments of the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve according to staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to item number 8. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9.
9A is an evaluation of a request to grant an extension to determine compliance with the schedule for development or to rescind and cause property to revert from MX 36A, heavy manufacturing, 36-acre minimum lot size, to the previous zone of AR 8A, agricultural residential 8-acre minimum lot size, for failure to meet conditions of approval as specified in BOS Resolution numbers 2009-128 and 2010-157. Which approved the rezone and extension of time for rezone of Assessor's Parcel 245-06001 in the Yucca vicinity. Staff recommends that BOS Resolution 2009-128 and 2010-157 be rescinded and that zoning revert to AR 8A, agricultural residential 8-acre minimum lot size. I have had contact from the property owner who indicated that they didn't object to this rescission and that if the project becomes feasible, they may come back in the future. And at the time this was done, the MX zone was the only thing we had available. They would probably do it as an energy overlay.
Yeah, wasn't this a small solar project that
Yes,
they had?
yes, it was. Thank you.
So the county's the applicant. Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion on 9A.
Make a motion that we rescind per staff recommendation.
A second.
We have a motion and a second on item 9A. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9B.
9B is an evaluation of a request to rescind BOS Resolution 2009-127, which approved an amendment to the Mohave County General Plan and the Yucca Area Plan for Assessor's Parcel number 245-06001, and revert the land use designation from Rural Development Area, Rural Industrial back to Rural Development Area in the Yucca vicinity. Staff recommends the BOS Resolution 2009-127 be rescinded and land use designation be reverted to or from a rural development area, rural industrial, back to rural development area. This resolution 2009-127 actually had a condition in it that required it to come back for reconsideration if the project hadn't developed. So this is a tandem item with the rezone.
Absolutely. The applicant is the county. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the motion be rescinded.
Second.
We have a motion to rescind item number 9B. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 10.
Item number 10 is an evaluation of a request for rescission of an abandonment of Castle Rock Road as referenced in BOS Resolutions 2008-231 and 2007-538, being a portion of Parcel F and abutting lots 1 through 6, Block A of the Cheyenne Meadows subdivision, Tract 3070A, in the northwest quarter of Section 28, Township 22 North, Range 16 West, in the Kingman vicinity. Staff recommendations recommends that BOS Resolutions 2008-231, 2007-538 be rescinded, and the existing right-of-way known as Castle Rock Road, being a portion of Parcel F and abutting lots 1 through 6, Block A of Cheyenne Meadows subdivision, Tract 3070A, in the northwest quarter, Section 28, Township 22 North, Range 16 West, will remain intact. Thank you.
Okay, county is the applicant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to rescind item 10 per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Item number 10, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries and is rescinded. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman, to the gentleman from the Aero Club. It's nice to see adults act like adults, and you do get what you want, or as close as we can get to it when you do. That was awesome. You guys were great. And the guys that left, I'd like to have said it before everybody left, because it's very pleasant on this side to have people that, I hate to say that, adults that act like adults, but I know you know what I mean. Thank you.
Always doesn't work that way.
Give yourself a hand.
Any additional comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Mr. Zami, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, and I apologize not being there at this time.
All right. Meeting adjourned.